Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Anna Sabramowicz, and I have a special guest with me today, John Trupiano. And John is one of the members of our Interactive Storytelling Accelerator program. And he's just launched his portfolio piece, which is kick-ass and absolutely awesome. And I hope all of you get to experience it. But first off, before we get into all the excitement, I really wanted to dig into John's journey, how he got up to this point before he even joined us, and then some of the lessons and maybe some of the experiences that he found valuable and maybe surprising, and then definitely have him tell us about his interactive story. So John, thanks so much for being here. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you.
Okay, so it's interesting because you came about from a different route, and you're definitely like coming into this, it's a pivot for you, right? So I'd love for you to tell us like your background and then just like how you got into all of this.
Yeah. I originally, so my background is in K-12 education, and I've been teaching secondary economics for the last 10 or so years, doing it internationally. I've taught in schools in the United States and in China and in Switzerland, and now I'm based in the Netherlands. And, you know, for different reasons, I just feel like I sort of accomplished everything I wanted to in the classroom, and my family situation is changing, and I'm looking for ways to transition out of the classroom. And so instructional design was something that I didn't know a lot about before I started looking outside of K-12. And as I kind of saw like how learning principles and theories could be applied to business problems, I thought that was really interesting. And I just started to want to learn a lot more about it and find ways to still use some of the knowledge I had from my experience in K-12, but put it to a different use outside of the classroom. And so that's kind of how I kind of got my foot into the idea of instructional design. You know, this particular project happened because I decided that for my portfolio, I wanted to build a course. Okay, so I made the decision I'm going to build a course, and I was working with an investment advisor that I know. And he's our subject matter expert for it. And then I'm working with him to build the course. And I knew I wanted to make scenarios, and I was just kind of building this thing like you would a traditional course. You do the analysis, you start building your objectives, and then you start putting it together piece by piece, backwards design. And I got to the point where, okay, now we need to put scenarios in this course. And I started thinking really hard about the scenario and how that would look and where it would fit into the course. And that's when I found kind of what you're doing in your group, and just how much you take that to what's possible with scenarios and with the technology. And I really thought about that, and I saw what you're doing, and I kind of thought about what's possible, and I was just kind of like, yeah, that's awesome. I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah. So what was it that actually made you jump in, where you're like, okay, I'll do it? Because I know you thought about it, right? You're like, Anna, you got all these videos online. Why would I jump in?
Yeah, I did. I remember that. Yeah, I guess I realized that I did need the help. I feel like I'm capable of going online and finding the information and saying, look, I'm going to figure this out myself. I'm going to gather the resources, and, I have enough experience and enough education where I felt, like I want to, build things myself at this point and where I'm at. And I guess it just wasn't turning out the way I wanted it to. And I had a lot of questions. It was going slowly as well. And I think that just the support, or the idea that you have, the idea that you have the support and the expertise to have someone who have experience in this, and I can engage with you on a regular basis and, continue to show you the work and what I think I'm doing, and then to get the feedback from the point of view that you have, and to build the modules that you're making in your accelerator, your story accelerator. I just knew that I needed the support, and not like I don't know what I'm doing, but this is something that's going to, I have everything in place, and I just need that support that's going to give me that feedback. I need that regular feedback, that I got and continue to get from you and Ryan all the time. That is always on point and totally dialed in. Like it's just like after getting the feedback, I realized I probably would have never come up with this on my own. Or it would have taken me another 20 years to figure out what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And I think I was able to recognize that you did have everything in place, and that it was just a matter of executing and being with the right people and the ideas and putting it together.
Cool. So when you jumped in, and you shared your work, how was that? Were you freaked out? Was it different?
Yeah. One of the members of the group, I remember when I first introduced myself, one of the things Gav said to me, I said hi, and I said, I've got this course, I want to share it. And he just said, you know what, share early and share often. And that was the advice that he gave me. And that was actually like one of the first humps that I had to go over, was kind of just saying, okay, I'm just going to do that, right? I don't really feel very comfortable putting all this work out there. And, I was a little worried about, how I would handle the feedback, or just, you just feel like, you get nervous about putting yourself out there. But I just made the decision early that, I don't care if I'm posting too much, or if my questions are stupid or whatever they are, I'm just going to put them out there. And because I just wanted to be really honest about, what I know and what I don't know. And I think that let me take advantage of the resources and take advantage of the experience that you're sharing with us, and sort of think about how I could fit into the situation and the goals that my stakeholder had here to help him in his business and his investment advising.
I think we have a word for you in our group, and it's fearless.
Yeah.
Relentless and fearless. It's fabulous. Okay, so now let's really talk about your interactive story. Let's talk about, tell us about who it's for, like how it came about, like where you got the idea for it, and then what's its goal?
Yeah, so I guess starting like the goal is a good. I mean, the goal is pretty simple. The client is an investment advisor, and we want to have him be able to increase the assets that he has under management, right? So we can talk to more people and advise them and help them manage their investments. And then, so we think about that as our starting place. As we in the development stage, what it started to do was, talk about, okay, who are these people that you're going to advise, as an investment advisor? Who's your ideal client? And that was really, I think, an important part of the process, because it gave the stakeholder a chance to really reflect on it and clarify and articulate who he thinks that he can best serve. And I think that was valuable for him, for me to ask him a lot of questions about that and help him get really clear. And from his point of view, he's somebody who really values, getting people who are kind of just starting out, or maybe don't know a lot, or maybe think that investing advice is too expensive. He takes a lot of satisfaction in helping people grow and sticking with them and giving them the advice and over the long term, right? So with that in mind, we're like, okay, so we're thinking about somebody here who maybe is younger, and then, he has an athletic background. And so, he feels like he does really well with those self-driven people who maybe also have athletic backgrounds, or at least the kind of drive that an athlete might have, because you kind of need that if you're going to be somebody who is reaching out for financial advice and really like earlier in your life taking your savings and investment really seriously. Then you probably are maybe already a little bit of an overachiever, and if you're already thinking about those things. And so, that was an important starting point, because once we know who we're talking to, then we could build the story around, okay, other people will see this and that's good, but we want to really hone in on this, persona, this avatar who we think that we can help the most, and then build the choices and the instructional design around, that person's perspective, and deliver that value as much as possible to that person first, right? And then, anyone else who else gets it, great. So yeah, so that, I guess that was an important part. I mean, I already had like this traditional course kind of already started. And none of it actually survived, now that I think about it. Like, it was like a reset. And I think that was a result of the reflection we did about who we're selling who he's trying to talk to and who he's trying to help. Yeah.
So your interactive story is called is it a millennial investment story?
Yeah.
And so
it's
yeah.
pretty direct in terms of that. Yeah, it's pretty, kind of marketing speak, but that's kind of the point too, is to say, okay, this is who we're trying to reach.
Cool.
Yeah.
So in effect, this interactive story is a way for somebody to self-select if they're interested in that service, if this resonates with them, right? When they go through it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then it also serves obviously as a lead magnet for this financial advisor. Like if you are, if you are aligned, if this speaks to you, boom.
Yeah, 100%. Like, the idea then is to say, okay, we want to imagine what is your ideal customer path look like? Like, what kind of journey does somebody have, that experiences that they have to go through, that they would have to, take years for them to go through? Maybe it's, dealing with the investment person at their workplace and trying to think about how those contribution works. Maybe they're dealing with, trying to do the research on their own and figuring out themselves, and some of the pitfalls and difficulties that comes with just doing it on your own. And that comes from the persona, the avatar, right? We're looking at people who maybe are already high achievers, who want to do it themselves and probably can do it themselves. Yeah. So, and what kind of choices that they're going to be faced with if they do that? Like, what's the experience actually like when you do a lot of market research and then you line up and say, okay, I've done my calculations and now I'm gonna do it. I've got to pick my stocks and I'm gonna press the button and I'm gonna transfer thousands of dollars or whatever it is, and actually give people the chance to go through that. That was like, that's a scene in the story. So that was an important part. And then we thought, like, some of his clients might have inheritance. And so we thought, how can we, what would that look like if somebody does have a lump sum come in, and now what kind of responsibility do they have? What do they do with that? Do they just keep it in a bank account? Do they buy a house with it? Or do they invest in the stock market? There's lots of choices and consequences for those choices that they would have to face with. And then even like dealing with your peers, so, if you tell your friends, I'm actually going to hire someone to help me invest, what are they going to think of that? What are some objections that they might have, or some of the ways that they might support it? And so that's really roughly like the scope of the story right there. When we talk about, okay, here's the path of the avatar, the people who are going to most likely be able to be helped by the client. Like, these are the people, if that resonates with you, if you go through that story, and then you get to the end and there's, now there's my clients page that says, okay, you can, if you want to schedule a consultation for free, now here's a way for you to do that. And I think it's really awesome because yeah, you've taken them through this experience where they have this agency and they're making this choice and they're identifying with that journey, using like all of this, actual storytelling and building all those pieces in and layers to make that work. So hopefully we're looking at something here that, yeah, we sort of compress someone's experience about what it might be like for them to get to that place where they're ready to ascend to the competency of scheduling that appointment with the financial advisor, and hopefully, or not, or maybe like they learn, enough from the experience or some of the feedback that they get in it, that also they can take that away just as something that's valuable, and they'll, see that it's associated with the client too. And so he's able to, and it's still like a valuable asset that he's able to share with potential new clients, definitely with his own client base, to help them be engaged. So he can kind of keep that, reduces churn levels, right? So he's got people, he wants them to renew, he wants them to stay on and continue to invest and to continue to engage with his clients. So, it's versatile for him in that sense, where, yeah, he can share it with people who are outside that he hasn't met yet, but with his own book of clients too, he shares that with them. And now he's got a great way to engage with them and start more conversations with them and see if they resonate with that, and just engage with his clients and keep keep them happy and providing them a lot of value that he wouldn't probably otherwise be able to do without the story.
Yeah. And I feel that's also very important, because they go through the journey, but it's not like this, at the end, you're like, hey, let's jump on a call. You also still give them feedback that's customized to their journey about some of the decision, or all the decisions that they made. So on its own, it's a really valuable experience for somebody to go through, and you get some serious lessons, and you connect, actions and consequences, and some of the consequences are very dire. but just the fact that standalone, it gives somebody a lot of value. I think that's huge, because then you can just you're just proud to share it, because you're like, regardless of what happens, you're going to get value. You're going to learn something here, right? And that's super
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of value up front. And and like the adaptive nature of it was something that I learned how to do in the interactive storyteller group. How, and like, to me, like looking at that and seeing how the story changes, you make choices and the story changes as a result of the choices that you're making. It's adapting to the choices that the person is making. That is like amazing in terms of using technology for education and experience, and like that just fits. That just seems like this is what technology has to do. It's like the best use of tech integration for learning experiences, when you can have people make choices and then have different outcomes that they can experience. It's how learning in the real world actually happens, and then to build that human-centered experience based on how people actually learn, and leverage the technology to make these valuable for different people. What's the word for it? There's a K-12 word for it. I'm trying to think of.
Is it like personalization or something?
Yeah, that's the
Maybe?
gist of it. Differentiation.
Okay.
You differentiate the learning. Is just, if you're in K-12, you're looking at, okay, I've got a classroom of 20 students. I need to meet each one of those students based on their own prior knowledge and where they are and what their experience is. So like a K-12 teacher wants to be able to make the content accessible by delivering it in different ways to the students. And I think that these interactive stories are absolutely differentiating the experience for the people who are taking it, because they're making different choices. They're experiencing different stories. Different people are going to experience different aspects of the story as they go through it. So it's absolutely differentiated. And yeah, it's just really cool. It's just a really amazing use of technology to support human learning. Yeah.
How was your experience building it? Did you enjoy that?
Yeah, that was, yes, I would say enjoy. I would call it. So one of the things I thought was like my biggest takeaway after going through the build is just how many different hats that you actually do wear as you go through it. And I think that's like when I said, earlier that, I would never have figured this out myself. I think a big reason for that is because, yeah, I would have, you're learning storytelling, you're learning production processes, the Marvel method, right? You're building it in Articulate. And I know I'm missing a bunch of other things, but there's so many different hats.
You worked with an illustrator. You're managing another human.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So yeah, I was doing project management, working with an amazing illustrator. And that was like a whole different skill set, a whole different aspect of the project that to get done relied, different part of my brain, different skills to do that. So that was, I think, what I enjoyed the most about it is the way that you're like taking from so many different fields and then bringing them together to create this module. And that's the only way you're going to actually make these things effective is if you really are drawing on, movie making and storytelling and Articulate and project management and script writing and yeah, like all of these things. And without having, without having Ryan and you there to okay, look at this. This is what I think I'm supposed to be doing. Am I getting close? And then, the feedback, you guys, I really appreciated how you would take those questions, and sometimes you'd be like, okay, I'm going to think about this. And then you'd come back and okay, I've had to think about this one. And then you give some great ideas. And a lot of that, you just have to put a lot of forethought into it first and just trust that, like, okay, my subconscious will eventually come up with the answer, or if I get enough people to also think about this problem, like how are we gonna to get this done? And so that's really enjoyable. Yeah, is trying to to nail those problems. And then when you do come up with like how it looks, especially the storytelling, to make it all cohesive and to make it fit. And so there's no jarring moments and all of that. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And just, yeah, like having like experts to work with is really helps a lot.
So as far as like something that professionally was like your favorite skill set or tool that you enjoyed taking away, which one would it be? I know that's a lot there, but what's your favorite?
Honestly, I would say it was the script writing. Like it's like a screenplay, right? Because I've done plenty of writing. Just, in my K-12 background, I spent a long time, editing essays, like student essays. And that's one thing. But what I've never done that I did here was write a script that includes that visual component to it. So I'm going into a scene, and what I'm writing is I'm describing what's happening, and then thinking about, okay, now how does that, how does the dialogue look in there, and continually getting like more refined to like make it all work. But I think the reason I enjoyed that so much is because I knew I had something if I actually had an emotional, like I had a lot of emotional responses to the things that I wrote. So I'd be sitting down somewhere like writing, sometimes in public, and I'd be like laughing to myself. And because like, like I got to figure this out, like what's happening here. And then I think of something funny and then I write it and it works and I'm laughing. And so I probably did enjoy that the most because there's, that's like a very creative, it's a very creative activity where then when you move into the actual build, I use storyline to build it. That's a totally different logical part of the brain. And now it's like, okay, this is not like I need to open my mind up to like my subconscious experience. This is like, I need to focus on all these tiny little details and really make sure everything is in order and working. And so that was a bit of a jarring experience. And in the sense of just like, okay, now I could tell I'm doing something totally different now in this part of the project. And yeah, so that was, which is, it's fine. That was also a good experience. I learned a lot about Articulate storyline. I could sort of use it when I started, and some of the logic and the help that Ryan gave to build these choice screens. It's like sitting next to the smartest kid in your math class. I feel like when he's helping me do that logic, because like I had some solutions that were pretty good, like to make like I created, you know, my first draft was pretty workable.
Yeah.
And then the feedback I got was like, okay, well, if we build it up this way though, then it's going to be just much more elegant and even work even better. And again, that was one of those solutions where, yeah, I could get it to work, but not as efficiently. And some of the feedback I got there was really awesome.
And you
Yeah.
took it and ran with it. The
Yeah.
final is amazing. So, okay. So if you had like a piece of advice for yourself, like when you first started, what would it be?
I guess it would just be, yeah, you know, just be open to failing, and like, you know, try and fail as often as possible. And you know, that's what your process, I think, lets you do that. You know, because that's the way it gets built, is you keep putting your work out there. And one of the things I learned working with you was you can't just take this thing and work on it for months and then ta-da, show it to everybody after you put so much time and effort into it, and then you'll never be able to take the feedback if you do that, because you put so much effort into it. It's so much better, this iterative process. Not only is it easier to get the feedback and apply it, but it also, you know, brings all the collaboration in and keeps people up to date on the project. And it's a really good workflow. That was like another big takeaway. It's not really advice for me, but yeah, just like learning how you guys build how the projects get built, in terms of the process, and getting out in front of the stakeholder and really accelerating that process. Like when you're ready to hit the gas on certain parts of it, you can really push the project forward and get that momentum, and like learning where to do that and how to do that to actually say, okay, now I want to get my next project and see how, you know, try and push those. Like I'll know when I get to the points I can really accelerate, and where are the parts I need to step back at. Yeah, so.
Cool. Fabulous. So now, where can people reach out to work with you, and what kind of people should reach out? What kind of, what's your ideal customer?
Yeah, well, anybody who, you know, well, they can reach out. LinkedIn is probably the best place. If you contact me on LinkedIn, would be the easiest place to get in touch with me. And I think anybody looking to, you know, in their customer enablement and success programs, anybody that wants to look at ways to increase their customer engagement, I think that I would, you know, I'd be really interested in learning about, you know, how their customers interact with them already, and how an interactive story might be a good fit, especially in the financial industry, because that's my background and that's what the story is. Yeah.
Awesome. And that's probably on LinkedIn, they'd be able to also experience your interactive story.
Yes.
Awesome.
That is up there.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
As of like now, in our world. All right. Awesome.
Yes.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for this interview. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it, and it was fun.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
John,
Right.
Thank you. This was awesome. As soon as I post it, you will be notified. I'll share it in the group. But
Okay.
yeah, get that story up there, and it'll be probably up within the next 2 weeks or so.
Okay, cool. I hope it helps with you, and thank you so much again for all your help on the project.
No, it's
awesome.
just it's phenomenal. Anyways, I'm glad you're doing it. I want you to do like 50 more and just not stop. Seriously.
That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah. I mean, that's where I want to go. So I'm gonna try my damnedest.
Yeah. So whenever you're doing your outreach, if you need any help with like you know, like what kind of pattern I set to do my lead generation and things like that for these interactive stories, just let me know. I can help you out with that. It really is about knocking on doors and connecting with people and saying, hey, do you want to check this out? It's all that. Like you can put out you know, a sexy website, but it's not going to work. You gotta talk to those people, right? So so do that. Find the people you want to work with, and then just harass them till they say yes.
I totally will. And I feel like I'm definitely in the place where I feel good about that, because I do really believe in the story.
Yeah.
And so I'm totally happy to like show it to people and, talk about it.
Right. Because it's going to be value. So it's just like, I'm
Yeah.
leading with value. Do you want one of these too?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
awesome.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. Okay. So yeah, keep me posted, and then just, I guess we'll see you in the group when you're ready to do your next gig.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Get some rest.
I will. All
Take
right.
care.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.